We are Ukraine 2.0. And listen, I don't mean that like Putin's going to send troops and invade us next week and stay for 3.5 years. That's not what I mean. But what Putin did first, he didn't just invade first. What he did first was he got a pro-Russia candidate elected in Ukraine. And he let that guy go in there and destabilize the country and meddle and fuck up agencies and fuck up infrastructure and fuck up resources and fuck up all the institutions that the country really needed to run successfully and to be really stable. And the citizens there got on to it pretty quick. They realized pretty quickly, oh, this guy is not working for Ukraine, he's working for Russia. They ran him out of office. They physically chased him out for being a Russian asset. And he fled to Russia. His name was Viktor Yanukovych. He's still alive. He's in Russia. Because he was a Russian asset, he fled to Russia. That's what they're doing here. They've got, and I don't think, listen, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is a Russian spy with a Russian spy phone who's really, really smart and can handle really complex spy missions. I don't think that he's smart enough for that. I genuinely don't. I never have. But he's a pawn. He's being used by Russia, and not just Russia, but Russia in the context of the BRICS nations. They are using Donald Trump to destabilize the country. No smart person, no real economist thinks that it's going to be good for the U.S. economy to deport 1 million immigrants in 1 year who are doing a lot of the manual labor. Nobody thinks that's good for the economy. And by the way, they're not reaching their goals. They're more like in the 600,000 range. So they're failing at their goals while breaking laws every second of every day and losing lawsuits. So even with this fast and furious approach to immigration, they're still failing. Even as illegal and ruthless and stupid and ignorant and reckless and dangerous as they've been, they're still failing at their goals. But nobody thinks that's good for the country. Nobody. No smart person thinks these tariffs are good for the country. Donald Trump is lying about how much they've raised. If they really raised as much as he is saying that they raised, every tariff would have had to have been 600% of what is imported. That's the degree to which he's lying about the revenue. He's a fucking idiot. And if you believe him, you're a fucking idiot too. This is the deliberate destabilization of a country. This is what they did in Ukraine. They sent this Ukrainian asset into the presidency in Ukraine, and he destabilized the country, destabilized the economy and the workforce and all the agencies and institutions that the country needs to run successfully and stably. And he destabilized it. And then that made it easier to physically invade. Does Russia plan to physically invade? I don't know. I mean, hopefully not, probably not. Putin's a fucking failure. His own troops won't fight for him. He's having to borrow troops from North Korea. He's getting his ass kicked by a tiny country using drones. So fuck Putin and fuck anybody that supports him. He deserves a bullet in his motherfucking face. Do I think they're going to invade? I don't think so, but they're destabilizing our country, and it is deliberate. It's not a mistake. If you think it is, you're a fucking idiot. It's the deliberate destabilization of a country. They're destabilizing our currency, destabilizing the economy, the workforce. These tariffs aren't good for the country. This immigration policy is terrible for the country. Donald Trump is enriching himself from this presidency. He's almost tripled his net worth while being in office. And he's enriching his friends. This is oligarchy. This is taking money from the bottom and sucking it up like a straw to the top. It's a wealth transfer, just like they've always done, but this one's out in the open. They're not even fucking pretending anymore. They're not just killing American citizens, they're using your tax dollars to kill American citizens. So here's the best part of this video. Viktor Yanukovych was elected in Ukraine, clearly a Russian asset, was chased out of Ukraine for being a fucking Russian asset, and he fled to, you guessed it, Russia, because he's a Russian fucking asset. Guess who his lead campaign advisor was? It's a name that you may be familiar with, Paul Manafort. Guess what his very next job was literally, his very next job was to be the lead campaign advisor for Donald Trump's 2015-2016 campaign. A guy who had just gotten a Russian asset elected in Ukraine. His very next job was to work for Donald Trump to try to get him into the US White House. If you think that you're a patriot and you don't have a problem with that, then you're a piece of shit and you're a traitor to your country and you need a fucking rope around your neck. That guy's a Russian asset. Again, I don't think he's a smart one. I don't think he's 007. He's not a spy. He's not smart enough to pull off complex operations, but he doesn't have to be, because I'm sure there's other Russian assets in our government and they're smart enough to pull it off. Donald Trump's a puppet and he's being played by Vladimir Putin, but not just by Vladimir Putin, by Putin in the context of the BRICS nations. So when you think about things like Argentina or things like Venezuela, well, that hurts Russia if we have control of that oil. Us doing what we just did to Venezuela gives public and geopolitical permission for Russia to do what they're doing to Ukraine. It also gives permission for China to do what they want to do to Taiwan. It really removes all possibilities of us having the moral high ground on any of those arguments. It's not checkers. It's checkers for Trump because he's fucking stupid. He's not even smart enough to play checkers. But it's chess for these other countries that are more sophisticated and have real leaders with high IQs. We are being deliberately destabilized. You've divided, we fall. When have we been this divided other than the Civil War? And who would benefit from us being this divided other than Russia and China? Trump has already given China the most valuable possible thing he could have, which is these semiconductors, which we had just fought for years to try and take control of that market and box them out. He reversed all of that. And you guys think that he's hard on China because you're fucking stupid and you don't understand any of it. Because you're an imbecile. You're a traitor. If you're still supporting this guy, you're a fucking traitor. And you can send me all the messages you want talking about that you're a veteran. If you're a veteran and you're supporting a draft dodger who mocks veterans, who said about John McCain, I like guys that don't get caught. John McCain was a prisoner of war. And when they found out that his father was influential, they offered to free him. And he said, I'm not going to leave without my men. And he spent extra years in a fucking prison camp because of that courage. Donald Trump made fun of him and said, I like guys that don't get caught. If you're a veteran and you're licking the boots of a draft-dodging Russian asset who mocks prisoners of war, then fuck you. I don't care if you fought in all the wars that have ever been fought. You're a traitor and you're a pussy. And nothing will ever change that. And you can kill me tomorrow and you'll still be a traitor and a pussy. Why don't you go ask a real American, a real veteran who supports democracy, and they'll tell you that shit to your face too. I'll be in Chicago this weekend. Broadview ICE protest, 10 a.m. Saturday. That night, candidate forum, 6 p.m. with the best Illinois candidates, Kat and Demi and Dylan, a bunch of influencers like Good Trouble and Jolly Good Ginger and Cats on the Couch and all kinds of good people. I'm going to do a little stand-up and a little speaking during that. The next night, Sunday, January 18th, I'll be at Zanies Rosemont. And then I'm trying to fly to Minneapolis to protest and speak and do a show. I'll keep you posted on the details of that. Thanks for watching. See you soon.